Start. Good. All right. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Revolve Youth, and thanks for coming out this evening. It is always great to see you guys on our YouTube channel here. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button so you can get updates on every Friday when we have our youth, our Revolve Youths and stuff. Yeah. This is going to be our last online one, but I think we're still going to do the stream. I am looking forward to seeing you guys back in face. We're going to have a lot of great games, tons of worship, and lots of preaching and stuff. So yes, we are going to get into our icebreaker here. This is our last and final icebreaker. It's called cap or no cap. So apparently cap means lie and no cap means no lie. So if you guys know the slang, you are going to have a good time playing this game. So how to play the game is every slide will have a question and you have to guess if I'm capping or no capping. Does that make sense? So cap means is a lie and no cap means is not a lie. Make sure you put two thumbs up if you understand. 2 thumbs up in the chat. All right. Are we ready? Oh, that was the example. Hopefully you guys can see that on the screen. All right. Are we ready? Let's go. There is less than 100 million songs that exist in the world. Cap or no cap? You've got 5 seconds to answer in the chat. Make sure to tally up your scores. We have prizes for you. All right. And the answer is cap. You know what? When I was looking this up, I was just like, I'm surprised there's less than 100 million songs in the world. Awesome. Next one. It took Disney Plus less time to hit 100 million subscribers as it was for Netflix. Cap or no cap? You like my dance moves, everyone? Got to be live. This is the last live stream. Online Zoom. All right, and the answer is no cap. So Disney took less time to get to 100 million subscribers. There's about 6,000 dogs that work for Amazon, and I mean Amazon the company. Cap or no cap? Is it a lie or no lie? All right, and the answer is no cap. If you guys want to go work for Amazon, you get a friendly furry pet. All right. Walt Disney came up with the idea of Disney Plus. Cap or no cap? All right, and the answer is cap. Just remember, Walt Disney is dead. All right, Amazon Prime has more subscribers than Disney Plus. Cap or no cap? Holt says there's no cap. No, he thinks I'm lying. He thinks it's a lie. All right, and the answer is No cap. So it's not a lie. Subway has more locations worldwide than McDonald's. Cap or no cap? So Emily and Kate thinks is a lie. What about you, Holt? He thinks it's a lie also. And the answer is no cap. Subway actually has more locations than McDonald's worldwide. Look it up if you guys don't believe me. All right. Canadians prefer McDonald's coffee over Tim Hortons coffee. Cap or no cap? All right. And the answer is cap. Coffee over Tim Hortons coffee. Cap or no cap? I don't drink coffee, but I do like my Tim Hortons. Emily says there's no cap. And the answer is cap. Canadians like their Starbucks. Snapchat has more users than Instagram. Cap or no cap? They think it's a lie. Cap is lie and no cap is no lie. So Emily and Kate thinks is a lie. What about you, Holt? You're a Snapchat user. He thinks there's no cap. And the answer is cap. Instagram has more users. YouTube is the second most used internet platform. Cap or no cap? Can't answer that, I'm sorry. And the answer is no cap. Make sure you put drum rolls in the comment section, guys, and put your best dance moves in the caption section also. TikTok has a larger audience than Instagram. Cap or no cap? And the answer is cap. Instagram actually has a larger audience. All right. I know you guys love your music. This one you guys are definitely going to love. Apple Music has a larger track catalog than Spotify. Cap or no cap? Kate says it's cap. I know what we're going to play for next week. There's going to be a dance battle. Come with your best dance moves, guys, and we'll have big prizes. All right, and the answer is no cap. And this is the last one, guys, because I know we're apparently all in this together. Alberta will be the first province to reopen up from the pandemic. Cap or no cap? Go wild in the comment section, everyone. Go wild. We're almost there. All right. And the answer is no cap. We're almost there, guys. We will be the first province to open back up fully. Make sure you tally up your scores. Holt has awesome presents for you guys. Thanks for playing. GG to all you gamers out there. I am very looking forward to seeing you guys this week. Next week. It's been a long, long haul. And yeah, Now here's your handsome man, Holt, with the long hair. When he hasn't decided to, cut his hair, is getting longer than his wife's hair.
Well, not quite. Thanks, Lanique.
All right.
Give him a hand, you guys. Thank you so much, Lanique. That was fun. Man, some of those are so funny. Okay, honest confession right now. Kate literally just tried to put my hair up into a knot just like 5 minutes ago. Okay, comment in the live stream right now whether you think I should grow out my hair, get it longer, or whether I should cut it like bald or buzz cut or something like that. Anyway, I want to know. I want to know what you think. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. You know what? Could you imagine me in a man bun? I feel like that's weird. But maybe it would work. Maybe in some strange world, it would work. Holding hands. Oh, she was going to come up there and put it in a bun. Oh, maybe next week. If you come out, guys, next week we are going to be in person. Guys, it's so exciting. We got some good news from the government this last Tuesday, and so that means we can have youth in person again with a few minor restrictions, kind of like before. But it's in person, you guys. We're excited to see you. We miss you so much. We know that we're going to see some of you guys on Zoom tonight, and that's going to be good. But it's just not like seeing you guys in person, in the flesh. We miss you. We want to see you. So come on in next week. We'll make sure to get more details out to you on our Instagram account. So make sure you're following that so that you can know what's happening next week. I just want to do a quick shout out. We see Elizabeth, Sharon, Menashe, Monapashi. Good to see you guys on the stream. We see you on there. Just wanted to shout out to you guys. I see you. And I know I see some others that are viewing that maybe just don't have an account or haven't said anything on there. Make an account if you've got a family member with an account too. We'd love to just hear your voice and see you on there on the stream so we're able to engage together in tonight's topic. This is part 4 of our series, What's Wrong With Me? Maybe you've thought that question before. Also, before I go any further, welcome to you if you're new. Maybe you're joining on the live stream for the first time. Maybe you heard about Revolve Youth from a friend or something like that, or maybe even this series from a friend that's been shared, that this series has been shared with you. We want this to be a resource for you. Maybe you've been walking with your friends, and I was just thinking about this earlier. Thank goodness for friendships and for the opportunity to make good friends so that we're able to be authentic with people when we're struggling. And maybe through this session tonight is about how can I walk with my friends through mental health. And for us too. Maybe you're as you've been hanging out with your friends and they've been open and honest with you, maybe they've been really struggling if they've been saying certain things and you're just like, I don't know how to help my friend right now. And you have some questions about how to navigate those conversations with your friends and how you can care for them and love them the way you want to, and in our walk with God too. And so really excited for our guest speaker tonight. Her name is Emily Cruikshank. She is from Gospel Center Church, and she's coming to come into our next topic and our last part of the series on What's Wrong With Me. So let's welcome Emily Cruikshank. Come on up, and let's give her a warm round of applause, you guys, on the live stream.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure and a treat to be here with you guys. I'm so happy to see that some of you are on the live stream with us, and that's fantastic. And if you're catching this after Friday night, that's cool too. I'm so happy that you're connecting with us in some way. Like Holt said, my name is Emily. I am a member of Gospel Center Church. I love being here, love being part of the church. You guys might have seen me around or seen me on worship team. If you're watching church online, often I am hiding away in the back playing bass. So if you see me on there in the future, please come and say hi. Would love to meet you and just get to know you a little bit more versus just seeing you on the YouTubes. But like I said, I'm so happy to be here. We're going to talk today about walking with our friends through mental health. What does that even look like? You know, what does it mean to support each other in our mental health? And on top of all of that, what does God have to do with that? You know, why would we be talking about this at youth group? So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to just do is kind of introduce myself a little bit, because, of course, I haven't been here at youth before, and I'm so happy to be here, but I just want to let you guys know a little bit about me. So here's some photos you can see of me and some stuff that I like to do. So I'm married. I have a lovely husband named Keith, and he also comes to Gospel Center with me. You've probably seen him around. We have a dog named Pebbles. She's a Jack Russell Terrier, and she is full of fun and full of love. As you can see, she likes to make weird shapes with her body. I love going outside. I love the outdoors. So there's a picture of a mountain there of, when my husband and I went hiking. We had a bunch of fun. And then I also like to run. I'm a runner. So that's a photo of me and my husband when we were going for a little race one time. And of course, I also love music. Like I said, I'm on worship team. And Holt tells me that you guys have an excellent worship team here, which I'm super stoked about. So if you ever, again, want to talk to me about music, that would make my day. What you might be wondering right now, I guess, is why did Holt invite me to come and talk to you guys about mental health? Well, the thing is that I am currently studying. I'm getting my PhD from the University of Alberta, and I am training to be a psychologist. So I'm in kind of the middle of my PhD degree. I have a master's degree. I also have an undergraduate degree in psychology, in counseling. I see clients all the time. I talk to people just like you all the time, just like your friends who might be struggling with their mental health. So it's a pleasure for me to just come here and talk to you guys because, I love mental health. I also love Jesus, and I love just spreading his love through helping others. So I hope that I can kind of impart some of that passion onto you today as we chat. One thing I do want to just say before we really get into stuff is sometimes it's really hard to talk about mental health. Sometimes some of these things are not easy to kind of grapple with. So if you guys are kind of listening to this and you're feeling maybe a little bit down, you're feeling uncomfortable, maybe this is a really hard thing for you to kind of talk and connect with, please reach out to someone you trust, whether it be a youth leader, whether it's Holt, whether it's a parent, a friend, a teacher. It could be anyone. But if you're feeling uneasy, please don't keep those feelings inside. Please reach out and make sure that you kind of talk that out with someone, because that is one of the best ways that we are going to be able to help each other and encourage positive mental health. So without further ado, I'm going to try to give you guys a really practical viewpoint of our friends and mental health. Sometimes our friends hurt, and that's okay. We love them. God loves them, and he wants us to show his love through our actions as we talk to our friends. So there's a lot of different facets to mental health, more than I can cover in just this one short talk. So I'm just going to try to go through a couple of kind of key things that you guys might be talking to your friends about, and how can you approach them? How can you kind of help them if things come up? So the first one, we're going to pull it up on the screen here. It says, my friend is feeling low or anxious. How can I help them? So, I think in mental health, one of the things that we often talk about most is anxiety and depression. I know that you guys have been talking about kind of what those things are, what they look like. And so now you might be asking yourself, okay, I think that I have the tools to maybe help if I'm feeling that way. Maybe I have someone I could reach out to. Maybe I have some skills that might be helpful to me. But what if one of my friends is feeling low? Maybe they're telling me that they're feeling depressed. Maybe they're telling me that they're feeling a lot of anxiety right now. What can I do to be with them and to do something that's helpful? So the first thing that I'm going to tell you guys is you have a powerful tool, and God and the Holy Spirit also imparts this kind of tool in us, I think, really well as Christians. When we're connected to Jesus, he kind of helps us to really tap into this skill, and it's called empathy. And I'm sure that you've heard this word before, maybe thrown around, maybe in some of the other talks you guys have heard the word empathy. But I'm going to tell you that that's one of the most important things that I'm going to share today, is to use empathy. Now, what is empathy? Empathy is about connecting with someone else and understanding where they're coming from. A really simple way of putting it would be putting yourself in someone else's shoes. What would it be like to be in that situation? What kind of things would you be feeling if you were over there in their situation? And the other thing I want to mention is a lot of people throw around the term sympathy and empathy. It's really confusing, and they can often get mixed up. So the difference is empathy is like what I said, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, feeling what they feel. Sometimes if you're watching a really sad movie and you start to feel really kind of like your chest is tightening up and maybe there's a little tear in the corner of your eye, you are feeling what that character in that movie might be feeling, and that's what empathy is. Now, on the other side of the pond, there's sympathy, and that is like on an upper level, you understand that people might be struggling in a certain way, but you're not really feeling it. So one example of that might be you're watching something like America's Funniest Home Videos, and you see someone sack themselves. And yes, on an intellectual level, you understand that person is probably not feeling great, but you're not totally disturbed inside because you're laughing at them. So when you kind of talk about the difference between empathy and sympathy, imagine those two scenarios. So if your friend is coming to you, they're saying, man, I feel really low. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Use your empathy. Say to them, man, in that situation, I can imagine that would be really scary. I can imagine that would be really hard. Tell them, the things that you hear them saying, and that's something called reflection. You're taking what they're saying, and you're kind of showing them that you understand where they're coming from. The other thing that you want to just emphasize to them is that it's okay not to be okay. It's really fine to not have it all together. God doesn't ask that of us. He accepts us as we are. And, that's something that we can kind of show our friends as well as we walk through them. The other thing that I want to emphasize is silence is okay. If you don't know what to say, if you're totally caught off guard and your friend is going on about how they're feeling depressed, how they feel like no one understands them, how they feel like totally isolated, it's okay to just sit and be with them. Being present is something that's going to be helpful, to help them know that they're not alone, and that if they bring up this kind of difficult thing, that you're just not going to peace out and ditch them, that you're going to kind of sit with them in that kind of uncomfortable space. And that is a huge gift that you can give to your friends. And then, of course, the last thing that I'm going to mention about this particular situation is that you can ask them, hey, is there someone that you feel like you could trust, that you want to talk to about this, that we could kind of bring into the conversation? That might be a trusted adult, like Holt. It might be a youth leader. It might be a teacher, a parent, a coach. It could be really anyone, in an adult situation that you feel, or that your friend feels that they could kind of turn to in that time. And that's also really helpful. Now, this is kind of like an overarching kind of explanation of just a friend who might be generally not feeling great for whatever reason due to their mental health. Now we're going to get into a few more specific scenarios. The first one that we're going to talk about is, what if my friend is hurting themselves? So, it's definitely possible and not uncommon that people might physically hurt themselves. This happens sometimes, and it's awful, and it hurts to know that people are hurting so much that they might want to hurt themselves. But it is a reality that we kind of face in life sometimes. So if you have a friend who comes to you and says that they're hurting themselves, whether that's cutting, burning, anything like that, there are things that you can say to them. And again, you might be in a situation where you hear this information and it's a lot for you. So if you need to just use your skill of silence and just be there with that friend for a minute, that's really okay too. Take your time and just kind of be with them. And then after that, I want you to continue to use your empathy. Your friend is hurting themselves. That is really awful. What is underneath that is probably a lot of pain. They're probably, feeling really isolated. They might be feeling some of the other things we talked about, depressed, low, anxious. Maybe they feel isolated or abandoned. All of those things might be going on. So even just saying to them, wow, you must be feeling really hurt for that to be happening, That's a really hard thing to go through. Use that empathy skill with them and kind of help them to see that you're with them and that you are here to listen to them. It might feel really tempting, and I know that I've done this too, so no judgment at all, but it might feel really tempting to turn into advice mode here and to say, oh, well, we should try to find a different solution. Like, we have to, take away all the knives. We have to, take away all of the lighters or whatever. That is absolutely maybe part of what needs to happen for that person. But if they're just coming to you and they're sharing this really difficult thing, and then you kind of just jump into advice mode, it might be hard for them to feel like you are listening to them and you're really trying to understand where they're coming from. They might just need to get some stuff off of their chest and kind of explain what's going on inside before we start fixing all the stuff on the outside. And then absolutely, in addition to kind of these things that I mentioned here, it's really important that if your friend is hurting themselves, that you encourage that friend to reach out to a trusted adult. That adult might be able to help out with more of those practical things like we talked about. Maybe it is removing weapons from the home or knives. Maybe it is taking away means of hurting themselves or getting them connected with a professional to help them as well. It's not, as a friend, on you to kind of set that all up for them. So, go through the list, whether, it's a parent, whether it's a youth leader, whether it's Pastor Holt, whether it's a coach or a teacher, anyone that is an adult figure that might be able to help, definitely encourage your friend to kind of seek out that help. Now, the last one that I want to talk about is definitely, a heavy one. This is hard. I know that we started out kind of more manageable, and now we're getting into kind of the nitty-gritty things. But stay with me. I definitely think that this is important for us to talk about because it is a reality often when we're at school and we're just walking in the hallways and there's a bajillion people around. Well, maybe not right now, but in normal times there's a bajillion people around, and some of them might be really hurting. Some of them might be at this place where they're like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be on this earth at this moment right now. And if a friend comes to you and shares that with you, that's a big deal. If they trust you enough to tell you that they don't want to live, that's a huge deal. And that, I know that as I'm saying this, that you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, that is such a huge responsibility. That feels like a lot of pressure. And that's because it is a big deal. It absolutely is a big deal. But a lot of the tools still apply in this situation. The first thing that you want to do if someone, comes and tells you that they don't want to be here anymore is to use your empathy and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're feeling so bad that this is where you're at. I don't want that for you. Tell them, you can even tell them, how sad it makes you feel to hear this, to hear that they're kind of in this spot. You can say, I feel awful. My stomach is in knots right now. I just want to do anything I can to help because you're so important to me and I don't want you to be here. That is really powerful. Maybe that person has never had anyone say, you matter to me and I want you here and I want you to stay alive. That is a huge tool that you guys can use. And a lot of that might feel obvious to you. It might feel like, of course I want them to live. That's ridiculous. But maybe that person really just does need to hear that from someone because you never know kind of what they've been saying to themselves up until this point. The next thing that I want to emphasize is that just because someone is feeling really, really low, they feel like they want to die, doesn't mean that there is something like abnormally wrong with them. This is something that, more often than, or more people deal with than you might think. Having these feelings of like, life is just too hard right now doesn't make you an alien. It just means that you're really, really hurting. And hurting is not a bad thing. But it does mean that, you need people around you to support you and love you and to kind of help you through that difficult time. So encourage your friend. Tell them, thank you for telling me this. I don't see you as any less of a person because you're struggling this way. We all struggle sometimes, and I want to help you. That's definitely something that you can do to kind of help your friend in that situation. And then the last thing that I want to say about this is very similar to what I've said in the past with the other two situations, but with a little bit of a twist. So in this kind of situation, it's really important that you do include an adult in this situation. Absolutely. If a friend is telling you that they want to die, you need to definitely include an adult in that situation. But the most important thing is that you first ask that friend who they think would be a good person to bring into that space and to have that conversation with. Because it is a really big deal, and it's a really hard thing to admit sometimes to people. So they need to be able to, as much as possible, choose kind of what adult they trust to walk through this situation with them. If there's no one that they can think of, you can absolutely kind of start giving suggestions. But, kind of empower them, give them the options and be like, is it your parents that might be helpful? Like, who do you trust to kind of talk about this? But of course, number one most important thing is that the safety of your friend. So really emphasizing, like including an adult in that situation is a really, really important piece. So there's a lot that I've talked about here. There's a ton of stuff. But I want to touch on one more thing before we kind of summarize, just to kind of bring it full circle. You might be listening to all this and saying, Emily, that sounds really great. That sounds like great advice from a mental health professional. However, we're at youth group, so, how does God fit into all of this? Isn't mental illness kind of like not very, spiritual? And my answer to that is, it's complicated, that's correct, but God totally cares about your mental health. He cares about your mental health. He cares about the mental health of your friends as well. It says in 1 Thessalonians 5:11 to encourage one another and build each other up. And this is Paul talking to the early church. He is saying that we need to be a community of people that love our neighbors, that love our community, that love our friends. And that includes supporting them in their mental health. And then second, in John 13:34, this is a super classic one. I know that you guys probably have heard it before. It says, "So now I give to you a new commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other." And love, absolutely includes a lot of these practical things. Showing empathy, showing that this person is not alone, reflecting, what you see is going on in another person and saying, hey, I see you. It's okay because I see what you're going through and I still love you. That is the attitude of Christ, and that is what we need to embody in our response to them. Just because your friend is hurting, even if you're hurting, just because you're hurting does not mean that God has turned his back on you. It does not mean that God has turned his back on your friend. It does not mean that they don't have enough faith or you don't have enough faith. It means that they're just going through a hard time. And God wants to meet us in those hard places in life. Life is full of hard things, not just in mental health, but in a lot of different situations. And that it's not a reflection of God abandoning us. It's a reflection of God wanting us to lean further into him and into the love that he has for us and for our friends as well. So just want to really encourage you guys to really reflect that mindset of Christ when you talk to your friends about, mental health concerns. So all that being said, I have a few points just to summarize. I know that is like kind of a lot to take in. And like I said, I tried to kind of compact it all into 20 minutes, but it's hard. So if nothing else, you can always come back to this slide. So just as a review, number one, empathy is key. And just imagine, sad movie versus America's Funniest Home Videos, if you kind of forget what empathy is. Number two, it's really easy to jump into advice giving immediately, but we want to try to avoid advice. Tell them what you hear them saying, which is, the skill of reflection. This is one that I didn't mention maybe explicitly, but prayer is 100% an option. If you want to just, you walk away from a conversation with a friend and you're like, I still don't know what to do, I still feel helpless, pray. Pray until you can't pray anymore, because prayer is powerful. And if you feel like, that's really just the only thing that you can do after maybe walking away from a talk with a friend, that is okay. Prayer is absolutely important. Bring a trusted adult in. That is absolutely, again, so important. And especially tying into my next point, which I've bolded, because I really want to drive this home, is that when you're talking to friends, your feelings are also important. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed and burdened and just like totally distraught because your friend is telling you these difficult things and maybe they've asked you not to share with anyone, but now that's really hanging you up, it's okay. You need to honor your feelings and you need to talk it out. That could look like bringing a trusted adult in and saying, hey, my friend told me this thing. They're cutting themselves. I, don't know what to do. And they told me not to say anything, but I just can't. That's okay. It's about, making sure that you are okay and your mental health is okay, and also that your friend is getting any help that they might need in that situation as well. And of course, when you're feeling doubtful, when you don't know what to say to a friend, you're feeling kind of overwhelmed in a situation or a conversation, silence is a-okay. It's okay to just be there with a friend and to let them know that you are with them. So I think that's about all we have for now, but I think that we're going to have a little bit of a question time. I'm going to invite Holt to just say a couple words, but so happy to take your guys' questions in just a minute.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Emily, for taking that time, for prepping, and for just some awesome practical advice on just how to help our friends and just navigate those conversations with our friends because we care about them. I know the one thing that just was the first point that just reminded me stuff that I had learned before, and I was like, oh yeah, I forget the importance of just listening and just empathizing and just being like, hey, I struggle too. I'm here for you. How can we walk together through this? It's so important, and just listening, practicing those skills. Those are some great applications. Guys, I hope that this is valuable for you and will bless you in your relationship with your friends and for yourselves and in your walk with God. And now we just want to take some time to answer some questions too. And so if you're on the chat, we remember from the other week, text Limberfish 513 to 37607. It should be on the screen for you right now. And send in your questions. Maybe you're like, oh man, my friend said this to me. What should I do? And each different situation is going to be unique, and it's going to have its different challenges and its different approach. But also there were some things that just apply in all of those situations too that we were talking about tonight. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid. Start asking some questions on there, and Emily will take some time just as they're coming up to be able to answer some of your questions. So yeah, go ahead, shoot. We'll wait for the next couple of seconds here as some questions are coming in, and then we'll answer some questions. But first, I had a joke. I don't know if it's I had it earlier and I was just like, oh man, I think it's because I'm a dad now, and I'm just like,
I think you should share it now.
But it's really bad. They're really bad. They're not really good jokes.
Well, I think that the further you get into the dad zone, the worse the jokes get.
That's true.
You're only going downhill from here.
I learned these as a kid.
What?
Yeah, they're pretty old.
You've just been holding on to them?
I've just been holding them on until now. But Anyway,
Today's the day.
these are definite dad jokes. But here, I'm going to just say one quick while we're waiting for a couple of questions to come on there. What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs that sits in front of your door?
I don't know if I want to know this.
It's so lame.
Tell me.
He's called Matt.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, that's fine.
We got one question on there? Perfect. Yeah, I'll come back and we'll check out the question right here. Okay, we got a couple of questions here, so I'll just let you know. How can you support your friends during a dark time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there are a lot of different kind of things you can do depending on kind of what's going on for them. It could be a family thing. It could be just a thing kind of in their own personal walk with themselves and their own kind of like discovering who they are. The number one thing that I would say, and even Holt kind of just mentioned this, is...
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay.
I will just get you behind the table.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
they can't
you guys can't see me. I feel bad now. Here I am. Yeah, just, listening is so underrated. I think that it's so important just to listen and use, like I said, those empathy skills and just asking them, man, that sounds really hard. Listening to what they're saying and reflecting and saying, that's really difficult. Tell me about, what that feels like for you. What is it like to be going through this? What does that look like each day that you're kind of walking through this difficulty? That makes someone feel really heard. So that would be kind of like my first suggestion. And a lot of the other things that we talked about are great too. Just being there for them, checking in on them even. You might have one talk and be like, oh, that was really hard and I'm so sorry to hear that, and then walk away and never talk about it again. But it probably would mean a lot to them if you checked in every couple days or so and be like, hey, I've been thinking about you and I just want to see how you're doing.
Testing. Whoa, there we go. Okay, and I think this was answered a little bit throughout your talk, but maybe just reiterating some of the points was, my friend has asked me to keep what they've disclosed to me a secret, but I'm worried about them and I don't know if breaking their trust and telling someone could make things worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really difficult. It is super, super hard when a friend asks us to kind of keep things under wraps and they don't want other people to know. And while, you probably can understand that it would be hard to kind of open up that door and to talk about it, you also need to make sure that you're okay and that you also are, kind of doing the best that you can for your friend in supporting them. And that might include bringing in a trusted adult. And again, like, you can include them in the process and say like, hey, I'm really struggling with what you told me. And I think that we do need to include someone else in this conversation. Is there someone that you think might be a good person to include, a trusted adult, someone that you kind of trust that we can chat with? And if not, you can, kind of go forward knowing that you've kind of let them know that you think that someone needs to step in. And then you might have to reach out to a parent or someone that you trust as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it can be a really tricky situation to situation. Another question here is, what do I do to help motivate my friend?
Yeah, that's a really good question, especially when we're dealing with things like lack of motivation, feeling a little bit low, feeling maybe a little bit depressed even. It can feel like your motivation is like zero, and that is really, really hard. So even, just again, I would say that the best thing that you can do is kind of just listening to a friend and saying like, man, like, your lack of motivation, that really sucks. It must feel like you feel almost stuck even in this place, and ask them, what do they think it is that's kind of causing them to feel less motivated. It could be family stuff, it could be COVID, it could be anything. And kind of really understanding what's going on for them and why. And then, something that I often use with people is I ask them, like, if you woke up tomorrow just randomly and things were better, what would that look like, And they might say something like, oh, I just, would feel more motivated. Okay, but, what kind of things would you be doing if you had motivation? And then kind of focusing on those things. And again, for you as a friend, you can only do so much. It might look like encouraging them to look for some extra help, whether that's through therapy or through talking to an adult of some kind, or even looking up some potential resources for themselves online. And I know that Holt's got a lot of great mental health resources that he could send you, and those might be something that you share with a friend too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know, just looking at the time. We don't want to rush it. Are you still good for a couple more minutes if we still have a few more questions? Yeah. Okay, so we got another one here. It says, I've heard that it's bad to label yourself with anxiety, depression, etc. Is that true?
That's a great question. And this is something that I feel like I'm getting more often as I work with clients and kind of talk to people. For some people, it is not very helpful to label what you're feeling as depression or anxiety. For some people, it feels like that label is kind of defines who they are, and kind of makes them feel like it's not something that will ever go away. And that's just simply not the case. Depression and anxiety specifically, there are tons of other mental health stuff, but depression and anxiety specifically are super treatable. And a lot of people who have depression or anxiety don't have it for their whole life, and only maybe have it one time or a couple times throughout their whole life. So for some people, having that label is really kind of closes them in and makes them feel like they kind of become that label. For other people, it is really helpful because they might have been struggling with this for a long time and they just didn't know what it was, and that was really upsetting to them. And then I, kind of say to them, oh, it sounds like you're feeling kind of anxious. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I've been, trying to figure this out this whole time, and you just, told me, and that makes me feel a lot better. So I think it really depends on who you are, what it's doing for you. You don't have to label yourself with anything. You can kind of work with the symptoms that you're experiencing. You don't have to label it as anxiety or depression if that's not helpful. But if you it doesn't really matter to you, or you don't really take it as a sticker on yourself, like a permanent kind of label, then that's fine. It's really, at the end of the day, it's just a word.
Yeah, that's true. That's really good advice to see both sides of it too. Because I know some people can say I'm depressed. But then it's just oh, okay, but there's something labeling and attaching is oh, okay, that's who I am now. But that's not the case. Maybe just thinking about that, the difference of how maybe I'm just I'm working through something. I'm feeling low, but I'm working through it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And it really is an individual kind of circumstance. So you don't really have to choose, if your friend wants to kind of label what they're feeling, that's okay. You don't have to do that. That's fine.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, if there's any more question kind of before we wrap it up here, we'll give you another couple of seconds. I do have another joke. I saw on the stream that somebody said lame joke, and you know what?
Lame
I
joke.
just want to prove you right. What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs that you hang on your wall? You know where this is going.
You hang it on your wall? Oh my gosh.
You know where this is going.
Yeah, I do.
His name is Art.
Artie.
Good old Artie boy, Artie. Arthur. I think that's it for questions for tonight. Emily, thanks so much for coming out and for taking the time.
That was some excellent questions, guys. Really good stuff. I'm so happy to be here, and I hope that, I can see y'all in real life sometime.
Awesome. Thanks again. Guys, it was so great to have you for our last part of our series, part 4, with What's Wrong With Me. Guys, I hope that this series has been just valuable for you and will bless you. And as you walk with your friends too, as we've just been praying through it, we hope that this has been valuable. I just want to just affirm, just at the end, COVID's been hard. COVID's been really hard, and it's going to take some time to integrate back into normal life, and whatever that looks like in whatever capacity that is. The summer is looking good, and so hopefully, and we're just praying this fall is going to look as what the new normal will look like, whatever that kind of new normal is, but back to more normal of what it was before. But guys, thanks so much for joining us online. It's been a blast hanging out with you on the live stream, and we just want to address and move you towards Zoom that's happening right now with your small groups. There's a Zoom link on the Instagram link on our bio. So click that right now. Join us for Zoom. We want to see you there. We want to connect and have some time for discussion to be able to chat through this. A lot of great stuff we were going through tonight, and one of the best ways that we can process that information is by chatting through it. And so if you want, join us. We want to see you there. We want to catch up, see your faces. But anyway, that's the end of our live stream for tonight, and we'll see you next week live in person here at the church. See you guys. Cut it. Cut it. Yeah, cut the stream.